As one looks back over the last 6 months, the main rock events seem to have been punk power, centering on Patti Smith's period at the Roundhouse, the rise of the Rejects, Mr. Frampton, Fleetwood Mac, etc. in America, and the Black Sabbath backlash. The traffic in heavy metal, perhaps it should be illegal, is not all one way. If we gave the states the idea of music as physical assault, then they just repaid the compliment with such bands as Kiss, who have the same effect as using Brillo pads to get rid of acne. Kiss arrived in this country in May. This is a film record of their first British concert. Kiss crossed the Atlantic with great quantities of pre-match publicity and with a devastating pile of equipment. Apparently they had the biggest stage act since Nuremberg. Later in Germany, sensitive Jewish promoters were to have the SS symbol taken off all their equipment. But that's another story.
Down by the boardwalk.
On reflection, the media blitz and the spectacle came a bad second to the power of their music. If you let it, many didn't, you could get yourself blown away by those banks of Marshall speakers. Power cord electronics that'll suck you in and spit you right out again. It's a big spectacle, right? What is most important to you, the spectacle or the music?
The audience.
The audience. All right, you're giving the audience two things. You're giving them an amazing spectacle and you're also playing heavy post-rock metal music. You're evil, right? You project evil. The question is, I mean, is there any evil in you?
Well, we're not doing the show yet. I don't want to,
Once we do the show, does it ever become a strain, though, having this kind of persona? No. You don't have to
everybody's got a cracking point, you know?
What do you represent?
Destruction.
Destruction.
Yeah, rock and roll. Just power, energy. Yeah?
Yeah, right.
I'm the drummer. Actually, it all stinks. I really do. Yeah, I believe it. No.
You love it.
No, I do. I dig it.
All right. You actually like these two boys here, Love and Evil, obviously enjoy dressing up. It's not, I mean, do you enjoy dressing up?
Oh, sure. I wouldn't be with them.
Did you ever dress up as a kid?
Oh, yeah. Run around, prancing through the house in a dress. Yeah, I used to get the drag. Then I would dress up as James Cagney or come out as always acting constantly.
Did you play football at school? I mean, were you nasty when you were a kid?
Nasty in my dreams, that's about it.
Ask Peter. If you want to know if Gene was nasty. All right. Come here. We'll move over here. We'll ask Love. Was Gene... All right, Love. Was Gene nasty as a kid?
Well, I didn't know Gene when Gene was a kid, but Peter knew Gene when he was a kid. Peter used to chase Gene around the block.
Well, I mean, okay, you're Love, right? We kind of get that, right?
Well, you know.
I mean, are you acting yourself? Are you full of love in real life?
Well, I'm full of passion. I don't know about love. You know, you can only love a couple of people, but you can be passionate to a million.
Are you Love because you're the best of the band with the ladies, or what?
Well, everybody does well with the ladies.
When you're doing well with the ladies, you keep the makeup on.
If they desire. You know, it's really up to the ladies. I mean, a good lover always tries to please their partner.
Lovey.
You know, so.
How do you project love on stage, then? I mean,
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
But did you ever play in little bands, like little local bands without
I used to
makeup?
play in pubs. Sure, I played pubs, $20 a night.
Oh, you got to.
Yeah, but that was all growing up.
Do you ever yearn for the days when you just stood there naked and in an old pair of jeans and played light, easy music?
Sure. I still do it sometimes. Because no one knows what I look like with my makeup off, so I sneak home, call up some old friends, and we go into a pub and play. Nobody knows who I am.
Radio's the only light. What's next?
It's the moment I've been waiting for.
What's that?
Kiss.
Oh, Mr. Lynn. That's so sudden.
Ding dong, the witch has flipped.
Mr. Lynn, we've been talking to Kiss. What is number one with the bullet? Is that like when they say a blast from the past or a golden oldie?
No, you're a blast from the past. And you're a golden oldie. And they're number one with a bullet. At least their new record is.
It's called Beth.
You two will love it, because Beth is a monster of a hit.
Beth, I hear you calling, but I can't come home right now. Me and the boys are playing, and we just can't find a sound. Just a few more hours, and I'll be right home to you. I think I hear them calling. Oh, Beth, what can I do? Beth, what can I do? You say you feel so empty, that our house just ain't a home, that I'm always somewhere else, and you're always there alone. Just a few more hours, and I'll be right home to you. I think I hear them calling. Oh, Beth, what can I do? Beth, I know you're lonely, and I hope you'll be alright, 'cause me and the boys will be playing all night.
Come on, Margaret. I've always wanted to meet Kiss. Hi, fellas. Yeah, just what I've always wanted. 4 kisses on the first date.
Well, your friend sure has a weird sense of humor.
Does your mother know what you're doing? Margaret, you haven't introduced me to your friends.
Oh, forgive me. This is Ace, this is Jean, this is Peter, and this is Paul.
Oh, I love a good religious group. I can take one look at you four, and I can tell you how you got your name and how you got your act. You had a fight, and your mother's told you to kiss and make up. And your makeup is something else. How long does it take you to put it on?
We don't wear makeup.
Why don't you push the down button on your elevator shoes?
Hey everybody, welcome to another Kiss album deep dive video. This, of course, is in my running series on Kiss. I'm sorry it's been a while since I've done an episode. But anyway, I'm here to talk about their 4th studio album, Destroyer. Now, of course, this was... All right, you know what? I'm not going to do this episode by myself. I've been taking a lot of crap from Aaron Mutha Alamere that I don't know enough about Kiss, and he disagrees with all of my opinions on Kiss, so I don't know. I'm going to ask for some help on this episode. Hold on just a second.
So how do you follow an album like Kiss Alive? The album that just totally went... Is that the knock at the door? Let me go see. One second. I have to edit that out, I guess. Oh my gosh. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, listen, I'm doing my Kiss deep dive. I'm on Destroyer right now.
Okay.
And
I just was doing Destroyer.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, Very cool. Well, speaking of Destroyer, I'm on my 4th deep dive for Kiss, and what I want is somebody who's more of an expert on Kiss. I feel like, I don't know as much about Kiss as some other people do, so I was hoping you could maybe help me out with it.
Yeah, definitely. I wish you had Aaron with you too, but
yeah, well, I know. Idaho's a little too far, but
yeah, no, definitely. I'll help you out with Kiss Destroyer. Like I said, I was just gonna talk about it right here. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the vinyl, I've got the cassette, I've got Kiss Destroyer Resurrected, the reissue. So yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Awesome. Welcome everybody to part 4 of my Kiss album deep dive series. Of course, today we're talking about Kiss's 4th studio album, Destroyer, which was released on March 15th, 1976. And of course, in between Dress to Kill and the Destroyer album, you had the mega selling hit Alive live album.
Yeah, big time quotes on that one.
But that was the album that really broke Kiss to a wider audience.
Right.
And so, in order to capitalize on the success of Alive, Kiss brought in Bob Ezrin, who had been producing Alice Cooper albums.
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, and Jeff and I were talking about this beforehand, where, the first 3 Kiss albums were great. The debut, Hotter Than Hell, Dress to Kill. Going back to those albums, you just hear they're just straight up rock and roll with, some metal tendencies. And I was saying to Jeff that if you watch YouTube videos of Kiss around that time, definitely their show was more metal than their albums. But the production on those albums were, compared to Destroyer, they were a little, they weren't as in your face and I guess produced as Destroyer would be. So, like Jeff was saying, I think with Alive, they brought in this whole new audience. And then Paul and Gene, always looking for world domination, they're probably like, where do we go from here? I think it's like, all right, well, we need something that's going to be bigger than Dress to Kill, bigger than Hotter Than Hell, bigger than the debut. And that's where we get Destroyer. And like you said, bring in one of the hottest producers at the time, Bob Ezrin.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. And there are some people who will say this is where Kiss started to get into more superheroes. I think Kiss, for the first 3 albums, they were shocking. Their image was shocking. Nobody had seen anything like that before. And then with the Destroyer, now they start getting into more of the cartoonish, and I don't mean that necessarily in a negative way, but more like that superhero persona. The cover was less menacing than the first 3 albums. You had more kind of that classic Marvel look on the album cover. The sound was a bit softer. I mean, you had the first Kiss ballad on any Kiss album with the song Beth, song, of course, by Peter Criss.
And what more could you want as a fan than, like you were saying, let's put together superhero and rock and roll, and it was like the recipe for success. A lot of people point to this album as their favorite Kiss record, and that's hard to argue with, because we were looking at the song list before. Detroit Rock City, King of the Nighttime World, God of Thunder, Shout It Out Loud, Beth, Do You Love Me? 6 of the 9 songs, they are still playing live today, which just goes to show you the fans want to hear those songs, and they still come across live really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, where does this album rank for you in terms of their discography, your own personal?
Yeah, it's a funny album for me because, my favorite album is Love Gun, and it'll always be Love Gun. I think I've done a Kiss ranking. I forget where I ranked this album, but I really, really like this album. I don't listen to it that often, and I'm still trying to figure out why I don't listen to it that often, because, as I said, the songs are great. Maybe, I've seen Kiss 3 times, and they play these songs all the time. Maybe it's because I've heard the song so many times. Mm-hmm. When you listen to Love Gun, obviously Love Gun you hear all the time too, but there's deeper tracks on this. There's deeper tracks on this album as well. Maybe it's not as dangerous as their other albums. Mm-hmm. I mean, Love Gun really is. I mean, on Love Gun they do Then She Kissed Me. But, I think this album compared to the earlier albums, I think they lost a little bit of their edge. And it's not a bad thing because the songs are still great. But, you've got a tune like Great Expectations, which I really don't mind listening to, but I feel like it sort of brings the album down a little bit. I love Flaming Youth, but I think Flaming Youth could have been produced in a more heavier way. And, I love Beth, but I can see where some people might go, enough with Beth. Mm-hmm. I've heard Beth 1,000 times, enough with that freaking song. But, I like that tune too. So, I would rank this, it's definitely it's one of my, it's up there for me, but I tend to go to other albums more.
All right, well, let's get into the songs on the album. Of course, it opens with Detroit Rock City, which Detroit Red Wings, when they were making their Stanley Cup runs in the mid-'90s, this was played at every single playoff game. Started it off, got the crowd pumped up. Their theme song for the 1998 season was Get Up.
Yeah.
They took this, kind of adopted this as their theme song. But, you had made a point earlier off camera when we were talking about, that audio verite opening at the beginning. Does that really need to be there? And it just sort of takes so long to get to the actual song. I feel like I wish they would almost index that as a separate track, particularly on the CD, so you could just skip over it if you wanted to and then get right into Detroit Rock City. But the song itself, it's anthemic.
Yeah.
It's one of their, I don't know if they still open their shows with it today, but I know it was a concert opener.
Yeah, I don't know if they open their shows, but they definitely play it live. It's funny that you said that with the intro because my daughter loves this song, and I played her the studio. I think she's used to listening to the live version. Mm-hmm. So I played her the studio version. Like you said, it takes forever to get to the song. And she's like, Dad, what song is this? What is this intro? It's almost like I get what Bob Ezrin was doing. Bob Ezrin is into this concept records. But it's almost like, let's just start the song.
Right. It's kind of like, Pink Floyd at the beginning of Dark Side of the Moon, where you have Speak to Me, where it's like that heartbeat. It takes a long time before you actually get to breathe.
Yeah.
But anyway, but the song itself, there's no denying it's a Kiss classic. Yeah. Then the second track is King of the Nighttime World.
I love this song. They play that live as well. I think it's, another thing with this album is that, the Peter and Ace and Gene and Paul, they were connecting with their comic book personas. Mm-hmm. And, for, Paul to be singing the King of the Nighttime World, that's who he was. The star on his face, the star man. He was the ladies' man. He was the King of the Nighttime World. So, like I said, it was just sort of, let's really get into these, comic book characters. And I'm going to segue that into the next song with God of Thunder, because that's Gene just being Gene. I think he would do his whole blood spitting thing and then go into that bass line for God of Thunder. So they were becoming more of their comic book personas, especially with this album.
Right, and that's actually a Paul Stanley composition, but it was like he knew exactly Gene's persona, the perfect song to fit Gene. That was like his showcase on stage. But yeah, God of Thunder, I just love how it's just plotting.
The bass line?
Quality, And there's somebody's, I think it's Bob Ezrin's kids you hear at the beginning, in the studio. They kind of, I don't know if that was by accident and they left that in or if that was intentional, but sort of an interesting nuance of that particular song.
And we had mentioned Great Expectations. But if you think about it, that is so Gene, because he's just so, I'm trying to think of the word, sure of himself, or just egotistical, I guess, I was trying to think of a nice way to put it. But he's just an egotistical sort of person, just very into himself. And that song is him. Also, I think Gene took some chances. If you think about his solo record, he covered that Disney tune,
If You Wish Upon a Star.
Wish Upon a Star. So this was sort of kind of that, hey, this is coming in the future for you Kiss listeners. Great Expectations is sort of, a foreshadowing of things to come in, good or bad.
And I think if you took a poll of most Kiss fans as far as their least favorite song on this album, it would either be Beth or Great Expectations.
Yeah, and I don't mind Great Expectations, but you've got to, if you're listening, I think that was the thing with this album is I think Kiss started to stray from their formula a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not as severe as like The Elder or Dynasty or Unmasked, but you could see that Kiss was not scared to expand their sound, which is not a bad thing, but you might end up alienating some people if you go too far. And I feel like Kiss maybe started to go a little too far with this album, but luckily they were able to I think they were just riding that precipice of going totally into it. But
right.
It still has that rock sensibility, I guess is what I'm saying.
So that's side one. Side two opens with Flaming Youth, which, they were definitely targeting like the adolescent male with a lot of these things. Flaming Youth, Kings of the Nighttime World,
And Flaming Youth is a great song. It's awesome. Yeah, mm-hmm. I like the guitar sound in that. Ba-da-na, ba-da-na, ba-da-na. It's got this cool like rhythmic guitar part. And that was what was cool too. I'll just mention this. I read a lot about Kiss, and Paul would go into the studio, and his demos pretty much sounded like what the studio recording would sound like, because Paul had in his head the way he wanted the song to sound. He went in, demoed it, and pretty much the band did exactly what he did for his demos. So, I mean, Paul, talk about a great songwriter. I mean, he had these ideas right from the start. So, I think Bob Ezrin had a pretty good template to work with.
Right.
Yeah. Well, Sweet Pain is great as well.
Yeah.
I love that song. It's sort of like Gene's version of Flaming Youth.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool tune. And then, I mean, the last three songs, Shout It Out Loud.
Yeah, Shout It Out Loud, I always thought was kind of like them trying to follow up Rock and Roll All Night. Another one of those, like, stadium rockers, and a song you can sing along to and pump your fists to.
Yeah, and it comes across live really well, as and I think that was probably tough for them because this album is it's very produced.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they probably had in the back of their heads, I hope we can pull this off live.
Yeah.
And I think they did it well live, and they still do it well live. It was probably more rocking live than it is studio-wise, but I mean, Shout It Out Loud, it's up there as one of the best Kiss songs ever.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then,
how do you like Beth?
To me, no. I'm not a huge Beth. I like Peter Criss's vocals, but I feel it's just a little too cheesy for me. I don't know.
I heard that the guys were actually laughing at Peter as he was recording it. But, I mean, the song, I don't know if they knew it when they were doing it, but you gained a whole female audience with that song. I mean, Peter would sing it. I think he would have a rose in his mouth at the end, it was totally like just one of the first power ballads.
Right.
And then you have Ezrin's orchestration behind it. I like the song. I play it live when we play out, and most people like that song, but I can see it's it's a cheesy song.
Yeah.
And to think that if you were to put Beth on one of the first three albums, you'd be like, this song does not fit at all. Like, it would have been so weird to hear that on Dressed to Kill or Hotter Than Hell. Think about how heavy Hotter Than Hell is.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it works on this record. I don't think it would have worked on another record, though.
No, definitely not before this point.
Yeah.
And then Do You Love Me, which to me I've always thought, like, what a disingenuous lyric. Like, Paul and Gene don't give a fuck whether you love them or not. They're all about...
You really like my limousine. You like the way the wheels...
Like, the last thing they care about is whether there's love involved in that entire sexual transaction there. But it's a great song. I mean, awesome. There's no question about it. I love kind of just
starts off with the drums.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think it's just Paul standing up there and going, you know what? I'm hot shit. I know I'm hot shit, and I know you know it too. And he has that persona on stage, and that is his. Like, it goes back to what I was saying before. That's almost like his theme song.
Mm-hmm.
You know, put that with King of the Nighttime World, put it with Flaming Youth. It's like, this is who Paul Stanley is.
Yeah, it's got all that Kiss swagger in it.
Yeah. And even when you watch them in interviews, I mean, that was part of the thing with them, is they believed what they were selling.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think that's where a lot of people had a problem with Kiss. It's like, these guys are, you know, talk about egomaniacs, but, you know, it worked for their stage show, it worked for who they were, and it worked for the music. I mean, you can't deny the songs on this record. Is it as heavy as the first three? No, and look where they went after this. You know, after this was Rock and Roll Over, where they were like, okay, we need to kind of rein in that a little bit, and let's get back to our rock roots.
Mm-hmm.
And let's lose the orchestration, let's lose the kids, let's lose, you know, the ballads, or I think, well, Hard Luck Woman was on there, but for the most part, Rock and Roll Over was a more, you know, heavier record.
Right.
Even sonically, you know.
Yeah. And then, like, the last track, it's not even indexed on the CD or vinyl, but like what's called like Rock and Roll Party or something like that.
Yeah, the sound effects at the end.
Yeah.
They're probably like, oh, we want to make this record longer.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Ezrin's in
kind
the
of
studio.
pad it out a little bit.
Yeah. But, you know, it's really cool. And Jeff and I were, because they came out with a version called Kiss Resurrected, and supposedly this original cover was, they were thinking they needed to, you know, kind of...
tone down the violence.
Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Tone down the violence. Really, nowadays, it's not very... I mean, there's a burning city behind there. I guess they airbrushed out, and this is where we got this. But Jeff had also noticed the difference of the costumes in these two. So if there are any hardcore Kiss fans, why are there two different costumes on these records? I don't know. I guess we could Google it.
I wish Aaron were here.
Aaron, where are you? Wouldn't that be cool if Aaron walked out right now?
I know.
Aaron, you need to come to Poughkeepsie, New York. Aaron is like the master of Kiss. That's what Jeff and I were saying. We're like, we better get our information right, or else Aaron is going to be like, no, you guys are wrong, or the Kiss Army is going to be after us.
And he still might. I'm not saying
yeah.
That, you know.
Listen, I'm a Kiss fan. I know Jeff's a Kiss fan as well. We just like the band. We like to... This is why Jeff's doing a deep dive on Kiss. And, you know, this is a great, you know, album to talk about, and we kind of want to just get on here and share our thoughts. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta head back. I got a long drive back.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Michigan.
Yeah. Thanks for coming, and you know, I guess I'll walk you out to your car.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I thought you flew here.
No, man.
You're gonna drive back?
I can't get a flight on that short notice.
No, that's true. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Take care, and thanks for watching.